at year 10, you need to listen to my mum.
Good. Okay, hopefully you've got your candle experiment sheets in front of you, the one that says burning candles. And if you haven't got it, I'll share it with you on Google Classroom anyway. So you should have that by the time you watch this video. We're going to go through the different sections that you need to do when we do this practice internal, okay? So this is more like imagine this is a year 9 and 10 version, but I'm trying to get you ready for the year 11 version of how you would do an experiment like this. So in science, when we think of doing an experiment, we have to follow different procedures, okay? So what you do is you first of all ask a question, and that's going to be our aim. But here on your burning candle sheet, it says question, and it says, how will changing the size of the beaker affect the time it takes for the candle to go out? So that actually is our aim. That's the aim of our experiment. That's what we wanted to find out. After you've done your aim, you do your hypothesis. And remember, I told you to write the word hypothesis the other day next to the word your prediction, because that's basically what it is. The hypothesis is your prediction of what you think will happen, and you don't have to say why you think that or why not. And also your hypothesis can be totally wrong and it doesn't matter. The next thing that you're going to do is then plan your experiment, okay? So in the planning of our experiment, we have to identify our variables. And we do this for any experiment that we do. So we have an aim, we have our prediction, our hypothesis, and then we establish what our variables are. Okay? And this is where some of you might not have listened properly the other day, so I'm going to say it again now. There's 3 different sorts of variables that you need to consider. Okay? We have our independent variable. The independent variable is the one you change. The independent variable. Oh, it's ENT, oops. Independent variable, the thing we change. We've got our dependent variable, which I tried to explain to you the other day, is dependent on the independent variable. Okay, and I remember when I learnt this, and it was really super confusing to me, because they sound the same, okay? But if you just remember the song, the independent variable is the one you change, the dependent one you measure. Get it wrong, you'll feel displeasure. You just try and remember that, then just try and stick to memorising. Independent variable, we change it. Dependent variable, we measure it. So what did we change in this experiment? We changed our beaker size. We had big beaker, medium beaker, small beaker. What did we measure? We measured the time it took the candle to go out, so we measured the time. Oops, no, time. And then the things that you need to consider after that, the things you're going to control, and they're called your control variables. And they're the things you keep the same. So to keep things the same, we would have said we need to use the same candle, same size wick. So the wick is the stringy bit that comes off, that bit, okay? Same size wick. We said that we would need to fill, once we've done it, because we're doing it 3 times, we need to sort of replenish the air inside the beaker. So once you've done it once, so let's just say this was my beaker, so put my candle under there, watched it, it's gone out, timed it. I'm not going to then go immediately and put it over the next one. I'll go like that and just allow the air to be refreshed inside it. So new air each time. Now when you do this, when you do your control variables, this is where you can start when in year 11 getting the higher levels. So if you only care about getting an achieved, which I hope you're not, because you want to all try and aim for merit and excellence, this and this. If you only want to get an achieved, you just list the things you're going to keep the same and how you're going to keep them the same. And sometimes it's obvious. You're going to say, I'm going to use the same candle. How? Well, I'm going to use the same candle. So you don't really need to explain that one. Size of wick though, how are you going to keep the same size of wick? Well, you could make sure you're using the same candle to keep the same size of wick, or make sure that you trim the wick if it starts to look like it's getting too long. New air in the beaker each time. Well, how are you going to do that? Well, you're going to do what I just said. You're going to move your beaker around to let new fresh air come in. So by explaining how you're going to control your variables, that will then you can access higher marks, which you want, okay? And it's easy to do it. So you should have these already on your sheet, okay? Now, you don't have much room where it says what are your control variables there to have written how. But after I've explained all this to you, I'm going to explain to you that you need to set up a Google Doc with this in. And this might be something that you do tomorrow. But today I want you to finish this sheet that you've got. If you've lost it in the time between this lesson and last lesson, you're going to have to get somebody else's and photocopy it and go to Kate and be very apologetic that you've lost it, okay? Right, so now, then you should have written a method, but you probably didn't do the method. Remember I said write your method afterwards. So then you're going to do a method. Your method is a step-by-step process that you're going to follow, or that somebody else could follow, that they're going to repeat exactly what you did. It's like a recipe in a book, okay? So preheat the oven to 180 degrees, get a bowl, put in 200 grams of flour, whatever, okay? So, let me give you an example of a not so good method and an example of a good method. So, a method to make a cup of tea, right? Good, not good. So, not good would be get cup and tea bag and milk. Make tea. Okay, it's not really, imagine someone had never made a cup of tea before. It's not going to help them. A good method is get cup. 2, we're going to number it so it's really clear to follow. Place tea bag in cup. 3, boil kettle. 4, when boiled, add to cup, leaving space for milk if desired. Okay, do you get the idea? It's different, okay? Then I'd go number 4. Leave to brew for 1 to 3 minutes, depending on your preference. Then you'd go add milk once tea bag is removed and disposed of, add milk. So how am I going to know that you've done your method? Well, you can either do it as a Google Doc and just share it with me rather than writing it on your worksheet, or you can do it really small on your worksheet and take a photo of it and share it with me on Google Classroom. Okay, either or. What are you going to do then? Then you're going to get your results and you're going to work out your averages. If you didn't get a proper set of results the other day for whatever reason, like setting fire to each other, you're going to use mine, okay? Your results table is going to look like this. You're going to have a section down the side. I think you made your results table. Yeah, you did. But you're going to have a section down the side that says beaker size. This is our independent variable. Beaker size. And you might have chosen a 50ml beaker, a 150ml beaker, and a 250ml beaker. But yours might be different. If you haven't got any results though, use mine. Then what I asked you to do was do each experiment 3 times. So I'm going to do 3 columns. 1, 2, 3. That has its own heading called time taken for flame to Oh, what word could we say there that's nicer than go out? Extinguish. So oh my goodness. That is not how you spell extinguish. Extinguish. Time taken for flame to extinguish. And because we know we're going to time that, we can say here that that's going to be in seconds, and we can just write an S in brackets, and that means we don't have to put it in our table because we've set it up here. So however many seconds it took for your flame to go out or extinguish, we're going to write those seconds here. So let's now pretend at 50 ml it took 11 seconds, 10 seconds, 13 seconds. At 150 ml it took 24 seconds, 25 seconds, 21 seconds. At 250 ml it took 44 seconds, 45 seconds and 43 seconds. With that data, you now have to plot an average, which goes in this column here. I really hope you know how to work out averages, but if you don't, okay, I'll remind you now. You get all your data, so all 3 results for each of your beakers. You add them together, so you're going to go, for this one, in your calculator, you'd write 11 plus 10 plus 13, then you press equals, okay, and then you get a result, which for that one would say 34. And then your result, you divide by the number of things you added together. So because we added 3 numbers together, our answer here we would then divide by 3, and that would go in there. Make sure that your number that goes in here is similar to these numbers. If you end up with 35 in this column here, you've done something wrong because it's nothing like these numbers. So you add your numbers together. The important thing is then press equals, because the calculator can misunderstand what you're asking it to do and glitch. And then do the same for those, right? Once you've done the same for those, so, oh look, it even gave you a results table pretty much. Then you're going to plot a graph. Now, it's hard for me to show you how to plot a graph online, okay? But I will try. So, pause this if you haven't got these written down. Copy the results down because I'm about to rub it off. On the other side of your paper now, you've got graph paper, okay? Oh, that was a bit dumb of me for rubbing it out. No, it's okay. So here's our graph paper. Okay, now if you remember the song, it goes in the second verse. The independent variable goes on the x-axis, the independent variable goes on the x-axis, the dependent one goes high on the axis known as y. So the independent variable, the thing we changed, goes on the x-axis, which is this one. This is the y-axis. So the thing we changed was our beaker size. So instead of calling it x, we can call it beaker size. Along the bottom, you're going to write down your beaker sizes. So in mine, I think I just said 50, 150, 250. And here I'll just write mil, so I don't have to write it there. And then you're going to look at your graph, and you're going to choose a nice number of squares to make a bar graph. And you can make it as thick or as thin as you want, but what I want is them to be evenly spaced out. So you're not going to have this bar going up here, and then this bar real close next to it, and then this one massive over here. Okay, hopefully you know that's not how you do bar graphs. So however far away one bar is from the other one, you make sure that spacing is equal each time. So you could go, right, okay, I'm going to start, so your axes could start like there, and then you could go, right, I'm going to make one of my graphs, one of my bars go 5 squares over that, or 4 squares over that line, 4 squares over that line, 4 squares over that line, for example. Hope that makes sense. Dependent one goes high on the axis known as y. Our dependent variable was the time taken for the flame to go out. So time taken for, rub that out, flame to go out or extinguish. That was in seconds. You're then going to go, right, well, what was our maximum number of seconds it took to go out? I think I just wrote something like 44, but can't remember. So I could go up here in fives maybe. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Thanks. I'll be there in a minute. 25 seconds. Oh no, that won't work because we went up to 44. Oh, well, you're just going to have to change that and figure it out. And then for each of your graphs, you're going to draw your bar that goes as high as the seconds that it took to go out in your average. You only plot your average results. I want your graphs to look nice. I don't want you to do them like I've just done freehand. I want you to do it with a ruler. I want you to colour in each bar. So it's you could do them different colours so you can see the difference for each one. I reckon that will do you for today. I think with writing a method, working out your averages and making a bar graph, having already watched all this, that's enough for today. I'm going to make you another video for tomorrow of how to write up your conclusion section, and then you're going to use this paper. I've only got one side of it, but you're going to use this template here to make a template of your own on a Google Doc, and then we're going to do other experiments. Okay, in order to do other experiments, I have to trust that you can do other experiments with a teacher that isn't me. Otherwise I'm going to have to just give you results, and that's going to be boring. Okay, so my intention here was to try and make science as sciencey as possible still. Okay, but if on the first lesson I give you something that should be quite simple with candles, on my very first Zoom class, and you can't do it and you can't behave, then I can't do it, and then that's not really fair on everyone else, is it? So please, if I set you with something else to do now, it's going to be like another practical of some sort, just a simple one. If I do, can you just follow it properly, please? Right, okay, I'll leave that. You're going to have another video for the next bit.